welcome to the MMA Heat podcast. Karyn, Bryant here with...
What's up, guys? Alan Jouban with you as well.
Hey, so listen, we're going to talk about UFC Vegas 14, where Rafael dos Anjos was victorious against my buddy Paul Felder, who I work with. But listen, Alan, more importantly, we're doing this podcast right now on Sunday night. More importantly, my friend, by this time next week, you will have a win bonus in your hand, and we will be planning the Champagne podcast, won't we?
I like the sound of all that, Karyn. Yeah, that's the plan. I've got good feels about this one. I feel like everything is going right. My camp, I did a 4-month camp, left no stone unturned. Did everything I could do, brought in different coaches. My same coaches, but brought in more guys to just work on things. My weight is on point, doing my my water load that I like to do.
Nice.
It makes the weight come off.
I'm water loading too.
Water loading as well. But yeah, everything's in place. It's got to go out there and do the job on Saturday night. But we're closing in on it, and I've got good energy going into it.
And we should remind people that you're fighting Jared Gooden, and he is an LFA champ, right?
Well, he fought in the LFA. He fought in Titan. He was probably a champion in one of those or some of the organizations, but I'm not sure if he was an LFA champion.
And for folks who don't realize, like, it's been a minute since you were out and you had some injuries that you had to recover from or whatever. But like, as you get back to a fight week, what about fight week is surprising you again? And what about fight week, like, feels good to have it back?
Man, so while you're saying this, Karyn, I feel like this is like 4 years ago before we started the podcast together. Now I'm getting interviewed right now.
I know, you are totally getting interviewed.
Like, wait, when did this turn into an interview? I didn't know.
Right.
Yeah, no, you're right. For those of the people that aren't aware of it, yeah, it's been, 20, 18 months, whatever, over a year and a half since I stepped foot in there. And so I do have those nervous jitters that are coming back. But I was telling Karyn before the show, right now, I'm at ease. I'm in a peaceful place right now, knowing that I'm going into fight week. Meaning, I'm very happy and confident that the goal is coming. I'll be able to finally go and do it, because it's that weight. It's like being in the back when you're waiting for them to call your name to go out and fight. It's nerve-wracking. Once you get punched in the face one time, you just go and you react. Same thing with fight camp. I knew about this fight for quite a while, and I've been in camp for 4 months. And so all that time, all these emotions are coming back, and everything's coming back to me. And now that I've done all the hard work, my weight's on point, and now I just have to kind of go and stay sharp, get my lungs opened up every day, and make everything happen during fight week. I'm at ease right now. I know the nerves are going to come back for sure. Getting back there, fighting at the Apex for the first time.
Yeah.
I've seen what I want to do over and over and over in my head, and I'm excited to make it happen.
It's interesting because while I was never a fighter, I definitely was an athlete, and played a lot of sports, and I was good at them. And even now, just even like on my little tennis team, like I joke that I play full contact tennis and like that I want to win. I'm like incredibly, incredibly competitive. But for you, like I feel like I've like by proxy have the jitters for you because I just want you to do so well, and I know how hard you've worked, and I know like that's the thing that's so tough about it is I've seen it obviously before with other people who have come back from injuries or just different frustrations or whatever. And I know how hard you've worked, and I know how long you've waited for it. And so now it's like, it's just crazy to me to like, that we're on the eve of it. We're right on the precipice. I'm like, well, of course he needs to just go out there and kick ass and get a bonus and stuff like, and I know your opponent might be thinking the same way, but I'm like, but F that dude right now. Jared Gooden might be a good guy. I'm sorry. But like right now, I just want all this success for you. Cause I feel like I've gone through it with you in a lot of ways. It's hard, man. It's hard.
100%. And like, he's thinking the same thing. This is Jared Gooden's UFC debut.
Right.
I heard one of his interviews. He knows who I am, obviously. And he actually kind of had some respectful things to say about me. Like, he knows that.
I would think.
Right. He knows that I'm a good striker. Like he said, he knows what he's in store for. But he has his confidence as well. And I just need to focus on me and the mindset. I'm really not listening into thinking about him as much as I'm thinking about me. And that's what most fighters do for most fights. But for me, it's just visualization and making everything work out. Like all the year, I've been talking about coming and working the desk with you at ESPN.
Yeah.
And it finally happened when I got to go work a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then I know I could put an exclamation point on it with the win in this fight and then come back and have more momentum behind me. And so I love that kind of stuff, because if you don't ever have the opportunity, then you can never test yourself. And now the opportunities are coming, and I just have to keep winning every battle and take it stride and stride. But the big one's coming up. You know, the fight means everything to me right now, and I'm ready to go. I'm excited to go and make it happen.
I'm excited too, and like I said, Jared Gooden, if you're watching this, you might be a great guy. And I will find that out on your next fight. Because right now, you're the dude that I want to have an L, and that sucks. I mean, like, it just in general, and this is kind of a great segue just into the talk about the main event this weekend. Like, look, Paul Felder, I freaking love that dude. Like, I love that dude. I work with him all the time. He's a great guy. We not only do we have a work relationship, obviously, but we have a friendship relationship. I know about his life. Like, I care for him, and I want to see good things happen to him. And I knew that him going into this fight with Rafael dos Anjos, like, it was a lot to ask. You know, Paul has been training for triathlons, and even the whole time we were over in Fight Island, we were talking a lot about biking, and I went for a nice bike ride today. I think I did about like 13 miles or whatever. Wasn't like crazy or anything, but Paul was like on the bike excessively over in Fight Island, and he was swimming a lot, and I love to swim too, and we were talking about, I hate running. So we weren't talking about the running part so much. But I know he's been in shape. But if you remember after the fight, he talked about the fact, he's like, look, I haven't been in an MMA gym in like 4 months or something like that. And maybe he's just been hitting pads or whatever. But the fact that Paul stepped up on the last minute, 5 days notice, to fight a former champion, that's who that guy is, right? And I love that Paul was talking about after being reinvigorated, because he did mention after the Hooker fight, maybe I want to retire. I don't know. I don't know if I can go through this for myself, for my body anymore. I don't know if I can do this for my daughter Aisling anymore. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of questions for him. And I love that even in defeat, he found out that he still wanted all of those things, which I thought was so great. And going into this fight, if I'm being honest, I realize I'm rambling a little bit, I did think Rafael was probably going to win, because he was ready for it, training for it, and whatever. And Paul coming in on 5 days' notice is a big ask. And he's coming in against a former champion. But I knew Paul was going to give him hell. And I knew Paul was not going to make it easy for him. So I don't know. I guess my takeaway from that whole entire fight was, I wasn't surprised Rafael won. I'm proud of Paul for giving him all the hell that he gave him for 5 rounds, and I'm not surprised that Paul could do that too. And I guess my takeaway from that fight was, like, I was just sort of happy both ways. Happy the RDA re-inspired himself too back in his own weight class, and happy that Paul found that thing that made him want to keep fighting more as well. You know,
I was shocked when Paul kind of proclaimed, I'm not done. I'm not done here. The division's wide open. He's thinking of different possibilities.
Yeah.
I was a bit shocked, because he's got himself in such a great position now with the color commentator gig. And I got to say, I think Paul's one of the best.
He's
honestly.
very good.
When I think about the best guys, Joe Rogan's in a separate category. Joe's Joe Rogan. He's
right.
Joe Rogan. But when you talk about fighters doing the color, DC and Paul are two of my favorite, and I've got a bunch more of the other guys, Bisbing, all them. I love them, but I just think that they're so evenly balanced with technical skills and sense of humor and being down to earth that they bring to it, and they're so good at it. And so he's gotten so good at it, is what I'm getting at, and they've been using him so frequently. And he took this fight because I go, you know what, Paul gets it. He said it, and he goes, this is a great opportunity. Former champion, I could save the day, make a buttload of money. Why not? And I'm like, Paul gets it. But then I didn't expect Paul to get it and then say, you know what, I'm going to continue down this path as a fighter and stay doing it. I was kind of surprised. I thought, you know what, this is just going to add to his legacy. Now when Paul goes back to the booth, we're talking to a different guy now. This is Paul that was already a warrior, who's a great color commentator, who also steps in and is a company man and saves the day. And he's got big, huge gonads.
I totally.
And he goes 5 rounds.
5
with
rounds.
a former champion on 5 days' notice.
5 days.
Which is another point. Like, why did Paul, Karyn? Why did Paul not say in negotiations, all right, cool, I'll save the day. Let's do a 3-rounder. Let's do a 160, 165
Because he's a freaking badass.
He could have so easily done that in his contract.
And everybody would have been like, yeah, of course you should have it at a catch weight. And of course it should only be 3 rounds.
5 rounds on 5 days' notice. Of course we're not going to make you make 155 or whatever. No, he does it all, makes the weight. And you can see the passion in his post-fight interview when he all of a sudden he randomly got on to one of the fighters, some of the fighters that did not make weight.
Yep.
But I know where that came from.
Yes.
I know where that came from. Paul probably was and look, Paul's a big muscular guy. We see his physique.
He's very big. People don't realize that. He's a big dude.
Muscular guy.
Yeah.
And if you follow Paul on Instagram, I usually see him, Karyn, for the fights 4 or 5 weeks out. He's cooking on the stove. He's eating string beans. And so, like, he usually has, like, a diet that he follows for months on end before getting to the fight. And now he abandons all that and has to make weight on 5 days' notice. He still goes in there, and he still probably went into the sweat, the little mini, one of those little mini sauna suits that you get in that you're in the fetal position, your head's poking out.
I have one of those here, which, by the way, maybe we need to do the weight cutting one. Maybe on Thursday night we should do the weight cutting one because I have one of those mini portable saunas.
You have one of those there? I'm going to have one in my hotel room. So maybe
we might need to do that Thursday night.
We'll pop the phone up and our head will be sticking out with no arms and while we're cutting weight.
That'd be fun.
But I know what I'm getting at is Paul had to cut 20 pounds or so, and it takes you to like a dark place. I know I get super emotional. I have a relatively, compared to most fighters, a good, easy cut. But I get into the bathtub and I'm dying and my body feels suffocated. I get so emotional. I start thinking about childhood memories and my son and like I know Paul probably went there.
Yeah.
And so he did all of this and he didn't get to win, but he did so much suffering to get here and prove something to himself and to his fans and his followers. And so when he sees other people not making weight or missing weight by 5 pounds, he's like, bro, get out of here. Don't come with that crap because I know what I went through and what I suffered for. And so you could do it too. But that's the type of guy that Paul is. And the legend of Paul Felder grew at this fight.
No, I 100% agree with you. And that's the dude that I know, right? Like, so that's the guy that I know that will sacrifice everything and lay it out on the line because he is a professional. Like, and that's the thing. So that impassioned speech of his about, dude, if you guys say you're a fighter and you don't make weight, like that, he's not being preachy. That just comes from his heart. That's who he is. Paul is a very authentic person. And, I guess that's why I mean, I could say that I think about a lot of people that I work with, like I get to see who they really are, right? You know, I mean, a lot of people, the fans see the fighters and see the bluster and see who they are during the walkout and whatever. But like, I see who these people are really. And Paul is such a quality man. Like he's so quality. And so like everything that he was saying, he wasn't saying, he was saying that because he means it and he lives it and he breathes it too. So he's not asking anything of another fighter that he's not willing to give himself.
No, I agree. You know, this morning I got up and I messaged him. I don't have his number. I messaged him on Instagram. He shared something. You know, Paul was sharing a lot. I'm sure.
Yeah.
We're talking about Paul. We're going to get to RDA, but
yeah.
Paul was the story of this fight because he saved the card.
He was. Yeah.
The circumstances surrounding it. So he was re-sharing a lot of stories on his Instagram. And I just messaged him something, you know, I forgot what it was, just something positive, you know, like, man, you looked great out there.
Yeah.
You know, congrats, you're a warrior, whatever. And he got back to me right away and said something back, you know, look, I just didn't have it in the wrestling cardio. I felt so tired in the wrestling. And I forgot what I replied to him, but what I'm thinking now and what I probably texted him was like, I didn't even have to say it, but yes, under the circumstances, I didn't even notice. I didn't think that Paul looked gassed in any way or sluggish. Was he probably lacking the explosiveness to maybe bounce off of the cage and hit a quick turn or hit a switch or something? Yes, that probably wasn't there. But as much time as he spent with his back on the cage in RDA, trying to bang away at him, take him down, punch him, elbow him, put him back on the cage. Whenever they would break free, Paul looked so fluid again and quick in his striking, and I thought that he was getting his shots off so quickly. There's a thing that makes you faster in fighting, and it's not necessarily being like, I'm faster literally, like I'm not going from 80 miles an hour to 90 miles an hour faster. It's reaction time.
Right.
And sometimes fighters are able to react a lot faster. They're just in a prepared stance, and the reaction time becomes quicker. And in my opinion, Paul's reaction time last night was superb. His combos were fluid. And in that fourth round, when Coach Duke Rufus told him, I need you to put more combos, give me 2, 3, 4, and I think he might have said something about his daughter and his dad's watching.
Yeah, Aisling, right.
That first 2 minutes of the fourth round, Karyn, I thought Paul was coming back. I mean, he looked so good. I cannot believe this guy hadn't been hitting pads. It was just, when you're not drilling in the wrestling department and your cardio is built for long distance stamina, not that quick explosive grappling, which is so taxing. You can only do so much. But with all that said, under the circumstances, I thought he looked phenomenal 5 days notice against RDA.
Yeah, he definitely did. But we always knew that Paul was going to give a stand-up fight. And actually, to be honest with you, I was happy for that for Rafael, because I'm so tired of, because I like Rafael. And I was so tired of seeing him fighting wrestlers. If I'm being honest, I was like, God damn it, don't give him another freaking wrestler.
Which is what it was going to be again. It was going to be another wrestler.
I know. And so it was just like, can we cut him some freaking slack and let Rafael fight a freaking striker? You know what I mean? So the fact that when Paul got put in there, I was like, yes. Because I like watching Rafael box, and I know Paul loves to strike, and he's got the 8 points, and he's got spin and stuff, and he loves his elbows and all that. And I was like, cool. We're just going to see a striking fight. And Chiesa and I were talking about this. We're like, if anybody takes it down, it probably is going to be Rafael.
Yeah.
And so I understood why Rafael employed takedowns. It's a smart strategy. I would take Paul Felder down too. You know what I mean? It's a real smart strategy. And I thought it was interesting for Rafael to use the thing that's been used against him, right? With those big 170s. And that's the thing about it, I guess, what was coming down to it is, I do like Rafael so much, and I did think he was probably going to win, because I did think, going back to this weight class, and even though the weight cut might have been tough, he said it wasn't so bad, because he did change his diet earlier in the year when he knew he was going back down to 55, that he did change his things, because we've talked about this here on the show before. And like when Rafael, like when he came to UFC Tonight, or when he came to other things when he was fighting at 70, he literally would walk around at 90, 195, 200 pounds. He's not a small person. And so the idea of him going back down to 155 pounds was sort of like, oh, shoot, really? But he said he changed his diet and everything, and that this weight cut was easier for him. And so I do believe that, like doing more plant-based things or whatever, like, I thought he looked good. We know he never had a problem before with cardio, but like I did think all of the advantages were for Rafael in this fight. But Paul gave he gave so much. He gave so much, and the fact that he went 5 rounds, awesome.
That was amazing performance by Paul Felder. So I want to get into some RDA applause for him, because you said all the advantages were for RDA, and they absolutely were. Because think about this. RDA had been preparing for a grappler for the last so many months, right? The last X amount of months, he prioritized in my training, said, I'm going to put grappling first. I'm going to do my grappling 3-4 days a week or whatever, and then also work my strength and conditioning to prepare for that type of fight. Switches, yes, it is a big decision. Not only does Paul have to accept it, but yes, RDA has to accept it as well. Yeah. Now I'm fighting a striker, an orthodox striker right now that fights totally different. But when you think about it, the advantage that Paul's well-rounded, but Paul's not a wrestler.
No.
And RDA had been wrestling for months and months and months. He had to have known, okay, right away, I'm going to use all this to my advantage. I've been preparing for a monster wrestler. I'm going to use this wrestler. And backtrack it even more, who was RDA when he was a 55er? He was the guy that put everybody on the cage and outworked everybody, took everybody down, never seemed to get tired, like he said. And he would just beat kind of big brother everyone. He was able to never fatigue, and he would take you down, put you on the cage. Yeah. It's when he moved up to 170, he did have some success. But now he was fighting the bigger body
Big guys
who were also the high level wrestlers. I mean, the guys that he fought, it just wasn't fair. The Kobe Covingtons, Usman,
dude, he got no favors.
Everybody he fought at welterweight was in the top 10, top 5, top 10. It was killers row, and the majority of them were wrestlers. So coming back down, where now he's the big body guy again, and there's not quite as many wrestlers in front of him at the moment. It was a perfect fight for him, with chances. With there's still dangers there, as Paul showed.
Of course,
Paul was landing elbows right away and had RDA cut right away.
Yeah,
there were dangers, but he could always fall back on that wrestling that he improved upon going into that camp. So that worked out well for him. And I think RDA is going to make a splash in the division. After being against these big, strong guys in the welterweights, going back down to 55, as you said, Khabib is obviously gone. There's all these exciting fight matchups coming up. Chandler's now in the division. Tony's trying to get a fight. Conor's supposed to fight Dustin. It's wide open. And now that we have RDA back, it makes it exciting again. Now, we always talk about on this show, Karyn, how Tony's kind of the fifth man sometimes, because it's like there's always like 4 people, and then there was like a 5th person. Who's going to fight them? But now we have Chandler in the division. Now we have RDA in the division. The lightweight division without Khabib, it still becomes entertaining and exciting again.
Yeah, and I want to know from people watching this and listening to this who they think is the next good fight for Rafael, because he did mention, obviously, Conor, and he was talking about this. He said, look, because Conor and Rafael were the ones that were supposed to have that fight. And then Rafael got injured, like in sparring at the gym, and Nate came in instead, and we know what happened from there. But it was initially supposed to be Rafael. And so he was saying, look, with all the things that have happened, and then, yes, you have your interim champions and people that have been interim champions, and now with Khabib leaving or whatever, but, like, he's like, hey, look at Conor, if you're going to come back and you're going to fight a true champion, like, I'm the true champion guy that, you should fight. And so while I think the sizzle has maybe gone away from that fight, because Rafael is not the champion, I mean, like, Conor brings sizzle to any fight, right? Mm-hmm. I am excited about seeing Conor versus Dustin Poirier again. But I agree with you. The fact that we have Michael Chandler, the fact that we have Rafael dos Anjos, the fact that Khabib is 95% out the door, it's exciting to me. Like, the lightweight division has always been so competitive anyway. To me, it's exciting, and to have Rafael back in there, and I don't know where he'll jump in, but prior to this fight, he currently wasn't ranked as a lightweight because he'd been fighting at welterweight. He was, I think, number 12 welterweight or something. Going into this fight, Paul was number 7 lightweight, and obviously now he'll drop. So I don't know if Rafael will take number 7, or, like, I'm not exactly sure how that whole thing will work. Mm-hmm. Paul will certainly go down, and maybe Rafael will jump in, and I'm not sure who is in the top 15 or whatever there. But I agree, to have a former champion in, and even if, let's say, Rafael came in and took number 7, to have a former champion in, when you look at the people that are above him, you've got your Gaethjes, you've got your Ferguson, you got Poirier, whatever. Some of those people would be rematches for Rafael, but some of that stuff would be organic and new, and it's a couple years later. I'm actually excited to have him back there at 55.
Yeah, some fun matchups. You said 95% out the door for Khabib, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying there's a chance, though.
I'm saying there's a chance if we're quoting Dumb and Dumber. I'm saying there's a chance.
There's a chance. Okay.
No, only because Dana was saying, like, what if Khabib wanted to go 30-0, and, like, what if we could get him to fight George St. Pierre? I think a promise to your mama means a promise to your mama, and you're not going back on it. I personally don't necessarily think Khabib is coming back, but
yeah, I don't know. I might be taking the bait a bit, Karyn. When I see these tweets with Ali saying 30-0 randomly, and he, like, posts, like, a Khabib highlight or something, like, he's been doing some stuff lately. There's been some Twitter activity happening, which is nothing new. But it makes me think, has this conversation it makes me think for Ali the other day he put, like, 30-0 and then some eyes and an eagle or something like that, I think. I don't know where that came from, but where I do think it came from, I think maybe Dana said, hey, what's the deal? would you present this to him? You know, would you present
Right.
GSP to him and at least get some thoughts?
Yeah, Dana's the one that thinks he'll come back.
Right. And so I feel like the fight is being offered or it's being talked about. And so, but even with that said, if Khabib would come back, would that fight even take place at 55? Would it be a catch weight? Would it be for the title? We don't know. That's not really in this division of circumstances we're talking about right now with the active 5 and 6 guys that we're talking about. But yeah, I don't know. I don't rule out is what I'm leaving this argument.
Right.
I don't rule out Khabib coming back for one more.
Well, I don't know because, like I said, as a mom, and like if you make a promise to your mom,
yeah,
maybe you shouldn't go back on your promise to your mom.
Yeah, but you know what? He might have diamond up his mom with a little necklace and some earrings and a fur coat, a bear fur coat.
Yeah, right.
And he said, "Mama, I'm gonna get you that Rolls Royce that you've been wanting to drive around Russia."
I'm pretty sure Khabib has what he wants.
He's gonna get his mom some beautiful jewelry in this 30-0 fight, so she might let him go back on it.
I don't know. Well, I guess to sort of wrap up that main event conversation, though, I would just say that big props to Paul for stepping in, and he gave him a great fight, and the fact that it went 5 rounds is really incredible.
Yeah.
And for Rafael, I think it is kind of cool that maybe he punched like a, I don't know, like a reset button or whatever. Because the thing that I guess part of, in summation, Alan, you know, I almost became a lawyer. In summation, I think my issue is I didn't like people crapping on Dos Anjos losing at welterweight and discrediting him as a fighter. Like I didn't like that because he's very good, and like we were saying, like he only got really good wrestlers a lot of the time, and this and that. Being a former champion in one division, you're never going to jump up and get easy fights, right? And so part of it is that I didn't like the disrespect I felt like Rafael was getting. And so I'm happy to see him winning and a threat again. And then the flip side of that is how much I love me some Paul Felder. And how much like I just, even though I knew the cards were stacked against him, like I just, and I didn't know if he would win, but I'm happy he's inspired and reinvigorated from this fight. Like, to me, that's the win. The win is getting Paul Felder, the fighter, back, even if he didn't win.
Both men, RDA and Paul Felder, seem to be reinvigorated.
That's what I mean. We got 2 reinvigorated fighters, right?
Right. And let me touch on both of them real quick. RDA, I would argue RDA has had the toughest competition in the UFC.
So hard.
I saw a stat the other day that RDA is on that was like his 17th win or something, and like his 20
It was his 30th UFC fight.
30th UFC fight in 2 divisions, and he's fought the top 10 in both divisions. There's not a lot of other fighters that could say that they've done that. Yeah, there's guys like Cowboy that have done both divisions.
Right.
We're talking about 50 and 170, the 2 hardest divisions. But Cowboy didn't have quite the success and some of the guys that he fought. Yeah, I would say RDA. When you look at his resume, his body of work, win or lose, he has fought the toughest guys, especially when you think stylistically, wrestlers, bigger guys, this and that. He's done it all. So props to him. He gets all the respect he deserves. And same to Paul Felder. To go 5 rounds, to look that good on his feet, short notice. And can I add, I saw a video of Paul Felder getting stitched up.
Yeah.
I have never seen someone take stitches so casually before. I've gotten stitched up numerous times. And Paul was mid-conversation when the needles hit. I mean, they're sticking the needle in, and he's like talking to his coach. He's like, "Oh, but you remember when we went over here?" And I was like, Paul's been stitched up before. You could tell it wasn't his first rodeo with that one. But yeah, the most casual conversation I've ever seen during a good 9-10 stitches in his forehead.
Yeah, I didn't see that video, and I don't know that I'll look it up. But yeah, I really like working with Paul, and we've talked about the fact that he was a theater major, and I used to do improv comedy and stuff too. And so Paul and I have talked about the fact that like on Friday nights, like when the world goes back to quote unquote normal, and we can take the show back out on the road, that we wanted to do some improv comedy nights and stuff on the Friday nights at a club before the shows on Saturday, because both of us have done a lot of stuff on stage and really do like it. So hopefully that does come back. But I guess in summation, I will say thank you to Paulie Paul for fighting, and what a hell of a show. Congratulations to Rafael for being back, and I'm excited about the prospects for both of these guys.
Yeah, respect to both men, and the 55 division is even stronger again.
It is. Okay, well, so listen, the co-main event was in the 170-pound division, which is your division. So Khaos Williams comes out. He blasts Abdul Razak Alhassan with a knockout in 30 seconds. So prior to that, he had a 27-second knockout of Alex Morono, who was also victorious on the card on Saturday. But Khaos Williams, so basically on this one, we were like, well, it's probably not going to the judges. Yeah. Because all of Abdul Razak Alhassan's fights, he has 10 wins, and they're all first-round victories. So we were like, look, if the judges don't get involved in Alhassan's wins, Khaos Williams is one of only a few fighters now in the welterweight division have 2 wins in under a minute. But yeah, that's his second knockout in under 30 seconds. You literally didn't have time to settle down with your snack before he knocked him out.
And an incredible knockout. Because not only, it wasn't even really, I think John Morgan, someone was interviewing him, asking him if he's worked on that combo. And it really wasn't a combo, it was just a counter. It was, when Alhassan was throwing the low kick, he threw the right hand at the same time, and that's what took him off the ground, because he was throwing the kick, one leg was up, one leg was down. The blow of it sent him backwards as one foot scooted out. But that was one of the few times that I can remember, Karyn, that somebody went stiff as a board while in the air, while airborne, and then dropped to the ground, to the canvas like that. It was an incredible knockout. I mean, you saw the reaction that he got from Dana White. For your second fight in the UFC, on such, I say a big stage. Second fight in the UFC, co-main event, not the grandest of stage, but against the caliber opponent that he was fighting. Yeah. He was fighting the knockout artist. He was going in there to possibly get sacrificed. He was going against Alhassan, who's got a ton of knockouts. Yeah. And a bunch of first-round knockouts in under 1 minute or two. So he was going in there. But you could see from the get-go when Alhassan came into the cage, into the octagon, Khaos was mean mugging him and not blinking, and it had this intensity about him. And to go from that beginning of the fight where it brought you in, if you're a viewer and you say, yo, this guy right here means business, and then 30 seconds later have that knockout, and then go and do that interview at the end, I was happy for the guy. He's in my division, but I was happy for the guy. He upped himself in this event. People know his name now. Dana White gave him that bonus. Dana White got out of his seat and came shake his hand.
I know.
He was so excited about him, and so he did a lot of great things for himself in that night.
Yeah, no, it was a really big deal, and like I said, the fact that it's his second win in under 30 seconds, and so I do the after the facts after the events, just to kind of give people a little bit of a heads up. And so if they want to check out after the facts for this one, they can. We'll put the video here. But so just so you know, I did have this little graphic here. So there's only been 5 people with 2 or more knockouts in less than a minute in the welterweight division. So Rumble Johnson is one of them. And it's crazy because obviously we know how big Rumble is. And Rumble, fights at light heavy or whatever. But when he was a welterweight, 3 times he knocked people out in under a minute.
In under a minute, wow.
It's Rumble. But other than that, Johnny Hendricks actually did it twice. Eric Silva did it twice. And Abdul Razak Alhassan, which is ironic because now this time he was on the reverse side. He was on the receiving end of it. But yeah, there's only actually been 5 dudes that have 2 knockouts in under a minute in the welterweight division. Knockouts. Yeah, so 2 or more knockouts in less than a minute in the welterweight division. It's just Rumble, Johnny Hendricks, Eric Silva, Abdul Razak Alhassan, and now Khaos Williams.
I need to get my shit together. I need to get on that
list.
You
need to get your stuff on that next weekend. You get one in a pow, pow, pow. I would love that. But yeah, so Exciting for Khaos Williams, and what a great name. Other than that, to me, the standout name on the card, somebody you've trained with, Sean Strickland. So now he has won two wins within 2 weeks. He won on Halloween night, on the night that you and I were working, the Anderson Silva card. He beat Jack Marshman. And at the end of that fight, the two of them were pointing, they were pointing at each other, and they were talking about, let's just throw down and knock each other out. Well, Sean gets a quick turnaround 2 weeks later against Brendan Allen, who was supposed to fight last weekend against Ian Heinisch. Ian had a positive COVID test, and so they just kept Brendan around. But your boy Sean Strickland, who you've told me and who I think I've heard from other people as well, is a beast in the gym and who hasn't always been able to deliver on fight night, is starting to be able to put it together on fight night.
Finding his stride, right?
Yeah.
I feel like the smartest person in the room all of a sudden. It's funny because you brought it up. I remember the first time we talked about him, and I was trying to tell you, I was like, I don't know, I don't do good against this guy in the gym. Right. I was like,
he's a big dude.
Like, big guy. He walks around very heavy. Like, obviously he's a middleweight now. He was at 70, but he walks around 25 pounds, 30 pounds heavier.
Well, yeah, they were talking about him on the broadcast, like that he would spar with Verdun before.
Yeah, I mean, he spars with everybody, but he's a big-bodied guy. He can go with any weight class. The way that you see his style of fighting, right? It's kind of like very upright, jab you in your face, and it's like hidden pressure. Like, he makes you stay in range at the whole time, knowing that he has a really good jab and long arms, and that's his style. And so you can imagine that with big gloves in the gym, it's just punch, 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 punch. So he always tears me up in the gym. I never had great sessions with him in terms of winning. He was always beating me up in the gym. He's really good in the gym, but we weren't always seeing that inside the octagon.
Right.
And now we're seeing it. I mean, he looked phenomenal on Halloween night when we saw him in that fight that you just mentioned. And then this was, in my eyes, a step up. Allen is a guy that's a name right now. He's a guy that's on a hot streak. He's beaten some really tough guys. And I mean, I hate to say this because I really like Allen, but he made it look easy. I mean, the way that his jab was landing, the way that he was able to finish him in that fight, I mean, he looks phenomenal. And he's kind of staked his claim as like he's now a legitimate threat in the middleweight division.
Yeah, I agree with you that now being able to put two wins together within 2 weeks, and all of a sudden everybody's talking about Sean Strickland, and we know his story that he's coming back from the motorcycle accident and blah 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 blah, and he's doing well. And I agree with you, and I think he is somebody that maybe we need to pay more attention to. Mm-hmm. But there is still a part of me that's like I want to see a little more pep from him. I don't know what it is. Like, it's weird when I watch him and I think, wow, he's so effective and he's winning, but at the same time, I still see him sort of flat-footed and sort of slow. Like, I'm not trying to harsh on the guy. Like, it's effective, obviously, but I'm like, to me, I guess when I watch Sean Strickland, I'm like, what would happen if he added a little bit more urgency, right? Or what would happen if he was on his toes instead of the flat feet? So, like, I think there's so much there that's so good already. And to me, I'm more like interested in what if he takes it to the next level. Yeah. So, I understand if I'm not trying to sound harsh because obviously he's found success and I'm not trying to harsh on him now. I'm almost more like, but what if you kicked it up a notch? You know what I mean? Because I feel like there's a level that he could kick it up to that he hasn't done that yet.
Well, I feel like you're on the right track. He's always been really good. Like I said, when I heard Bisping on the commentary, he was mimicking everything I was saying. He was like, this guy is good everywhere. He surprises me.
Yes, he is.
He's got a great jab. Didn't always have the success inside the octagon. And I'm like, that's what I felt too. I'm glad Bisping encountered the same trouble that I did against him inside the gym. He's got that kind of gym style where he stays 80% in your face pressure, but doesn't really use the explosiveness and the power that people do in the fights. Yeah. But I feel like he's taking steps toward that right direction because that was some of the trouble that he had before in his career. I feel like he was in some fights that were a little lackluster because neither one of the guys decided to turn it up a notch. Right. And it would cause for a little more of a dull fight. But you've seen him in these last couple of fights slowly start to get a little more pressure and then be a little more vocal,
Yes.
show a little more attitude, be a little. He's kind of coming into his own a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like even though he's got a tremendous amount of fights, I feel like he's saying like, this is who I am, and I'm comfortable with it. But I agree, if he continues to do this and evolve in terms of being a character for the UFC, like this is the dark horse, Sean Strickland. This is his style. He would talk to you. He would jab you up. He would knock you out. I think the UFC could do some good things with him. But I know what you're saying. He sometimes was a slow starter and not always an exciting fight guy. But he's at a place now where a lot of people looking at him going, man, this guy's really good and he's really tough. And the fact that he's like talking more and everything, I like it. Like he's kind of talking a little bit of trash and joking afterward a lot in interviews.
Yeah, and I guess that's what I'm responding to is the fact that in the fight with Marshman, the last 30 seconds or 40 seconds of the fight, he's like, let's do this. And, trying to point and do a Max Holloway, Ricardo Lamas moment. And I remember afterwards, like reading the stuff that he was saying and that he's like, I was egging him on to like try to knock me out. And if he had knocked me out, I'd have been the number one a-hole. He's like franking him on. And like, so I know he's got a sense of humor. I know that, he's got some personality, and I guess maybe that's what it is that I'm seeing some of it start to come out, and I want to encourage more of that to come out because you just from the stories I've heard about, you talking about him in the gym, and we're starting to see some of it in the octagon, but like, I guess maybe that's what it is that I do see the potential there, and when you see somebody that you're like, oh, dude, you're like right on the cusp, like you could kick it over to the next level. Like, I hope he does. I hope he does do it because he is, entertaining to watch, and he's winning these fights clearly, and he's not afraid of being in a firefight, and he's not afraid of just like throwing down. So, I guess from him, I just want a little more urgency. That's all.
Yeah, I want to see him continue. I'd love to see him take another fight in like December and come in on short notice against some tough dude and him just get out there again, same thing, just sort of like tapping him with the jab, landing the shot, doing the same thing. And he's like silently becoming this big threat in the division. So we'll see what happens. But I'm happy for the guy. He's kind of emerged, especially after a 2-year layoff, with a bad leg injury. And then all of a sudden he's emerged as one of these hot topics again late in the year.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for him too. And honestly, when we look at the and like I said, I did this on my After the Facts video, but the fewest days in between wins in the UFC modern era. So Khamzat Chimaev over on Fight Island, it was 10 days. And then Chaz Skelly did it once in 13 days. But there's your boy Sean Strickland. 2 weeks. A quick turnaround, and Chris Lieben did it in 2 weeks, and Cowboy Cerrone did it in 15 days. But like, that's massive, and that's huge. And so Sean gets like major freaking bro points or cred, whatever points you want to give him. Like, he gets them for sure. I guess what it is like I said, like there's something about his vibe in the octagon sometimes where he just seems so like, I don't know, so chill. I guess I just want to see a little bit more. Like, I guess I want to see him want it more is really what it comes down to, right? Because, like, we see so many other fighters, like your Chimaev, even half the people on that list, and Cowboy and this and that, like, when they are presented with a fight, like, you get the feeling they freaking want it. Ooh, there's a lot more, like, aggro vibe with a lot of people. And I guess I want Sean to, like, posture more. I don't know. Bro out more. Like, be the dude more, man. Like, bro out. Like, go for it more.
Sean. We're going to have to see. I got a feeling he's not going to change. But if he could keep just turning it up a little bit, the dial just a little bit each fight, man, he's getting there.
A little bit. And that's the thing. You don't need to be an a-hole because obviously I don't need you to, like, pretend to be somebody. Mm-hmm. But it's just cool that like he's winning these fights and maybe now, whatever. Like like I said, you know him better than I do. I think it's cool that he's coming back from this motorcycle accident and he's doing big things, taking full advantage of the apex. So
more power to him.
I'm happy with him. Otherwise, on the fight card, on the main card, if I'm being honest with you, the fight between Kay Hansen and Corey McKee, that was interesting to me because I do think that these two girls are going to be the future of the division. And so I think that it's maybe going to be one of those things where we'll see them fight each other again in the future or whatever. But Kay Hansen, she's a girl who really idolizes Ronda and talks a lot about Ronda in her ideology and her mindset. But I think both of those young girls are really good. And I know Kay didn't win her fight, and it was Corey. She trains with Alpha Male. She's so young. Both those girls were only like 21 years old. They're both so young. And if anything, I just was excited to see two young women who were already so talented and who are already on the right path. You know what I mean? To like doing great things. It made me really excited.
What was her name again that won the fight?
Corey McKee.
Corey.
Yeah. So she trains with Alpha Male. She was on Dana White's Contender Series. She on Dana's show, she had Uriah in her corner. Like she's from Wales. She's getting great coaching.
She fought my teammate on the Contender, Vanessa.
Right.
Who was the LFA champ. And she looked great because she looked very well rounded. She was good on the feet, had good wrestling when she would go to the ground with my teammate Vanessa, who's a beast on the ground.
That was a good fight.
Jiu-jitsu. She was able to hold her own. So I knew she was going to do well in the UFC, but she had that kind of team alpha male type of style. Very good everywhere, but very comfortable on the mat as well and able to dominate or at least hold her own against jiu-jitsu type specialists. Yeah. And it showed in this fight as well.
Yeah, I'm just, like I said, I'm just excited to see them. Obviously, we also had Ashley Yoder on there and Miranda Granger. Just the 15 division there's a lot of talent there. And, like somebody like Ashley, who was on The Ultimate Fighter, and it's great to see her. And, her record, I don't think necessarily represents who she is, because she's just been in there against a lot of tough competition and had split decisions and whatever. But I think maybe more than any division, that women's strawweight division has so many talented girls in it that, if you had them all fight each other 5 times a week, you know what I mean? Different things would happen. Angela Hill and I have talked about this a lot. But I guess my takeaway from that is, even in defeat for Kay Hansen and in victory with Corey McKee, I'm excited to see these two girls who are so young. They're only 21 years old, and they're already that talented. Like, that's cool. That's really cool.
I didn't walk into a gym until I was 25. So to see them in the UFC competing at a high level, bleeding, getting stitched up afterward, 21 years old. Yeah, man, these girls are doing it. They're doing it real early.
Yeah, they really are. So it's exciting to me. So I saw the main card, some of the prelims I got to catch later because I was a total dork and forgot to take my test on Friday night. So I didn't get to work on Saturday. So I just came home on Saturday instead. I'll just say that it's like Groundhog Day every time I go to Vegas for work. And this time I goofed. But next weekend I won't. I'm going to be doing the Facebook stuff for UFC 255, where our boy Alan is going to be fighting, and the main event, Davison Figueiredo against Alex Perez, who was on Contender Series. Also, we have I almost said Joanna. That's so funny. Yeah. With Valentina Shevchenko at 125 pounds taking on Jennifer Maia. But more importantly, Alan, I guess just for you, it's just exciting that you'll be back in action. Those are two very good title fights. And if I'm honest with you, I think Davison Figueiredo was very, very good. And no disrespect to Perez, I kind of wish that our boy Brandon Moreno was in the title fight instead.
Yeah, or the originally slotted person, who was originally.
It was supposed to be Cody Garbrandt, which would have been amazing to just wait for Cody.
Yeah,
that
and
does
he would have
suck.
Been that bigger name. It would have been that bigger name that would have added to the card.
It's a huge name, and I hate that for the lighter divisions for the men that there isn't always the respect there, because I covered both of those fights with Davison and Joseph. Davison is the real deal. He's a very, very good fighter. He's a very good fighter, and he's very exciting. So without having Joe, a name people know more, or without having Cody, a name people know more, I understand that people might not be as interested in Alex Perez, but hopefully they will be. But for me, watching Valentina Shevchenko, she's one of the GOATs for women. So to me, I do think Jennifer Maia has an uphill battle. But that's I think the baby Jesus has an uphill battle against Valentina Shevchenko. I think Khabib has an uphill battle against Valentina. Like, I think she's that good when it comes to women.
Yeah, I mean, I love her too. She does. I've said it over and over. She does everything right. It's the card I'm on, so I don't want to comment too much on it. But I do think that if there were either and new, it would be a huge shocker to a lot of people. I think if there were and new, yes. I think it's likely looking going to be heavy favorite that the and stills for both of the title fights because both of the champions have looked so dominant as of lately. And they're just such good fighters. I mean, they showed, but you take both of their last two fights, and it just looked like, like a technical display right there. So it'll be tough fights for the challengers in both of them. But I'm going to be focused on my fight, and then hopefully I'll be at a bar drinking a beer, watching the pay-per-view on TV somewhere with my feet up.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'd be very surprised if it isn't two situations of and still. But I guess that's what we know and love about the fight game is that you just never know. But yeah, I'll be backstage doing the Facebook stuff for UFC. So the quick hits and all of that. And hopefully I'll be able to talk about you as you're walking out and everything. But yeah, so for all of our shows, we have them as audio downloads at MMA.audio. You can find them on the Karyn Bryant YouTube channel on MMAHeat.com. You can follow our producer, Wade Eck, across the board here. But Alan, where can everybody find you?
Yeah, and check me out, guys, at Alan Jouban on my social media. I'll probably, me and my guys, there's not much you do in Vegas right now when you're quarantined. You go back, you get tested, and you go back to the hotel and you wait and hang out. But, yeah, give me a follow, check it out. Usually during fight week, me and my team, we do a lot of fun stuff. I don't know how much fun stuff we'll get to do this time, but give me a follow. I'll try to provide some entertainment for you guys.
Yeah, folks should definitely follow you because even though like all of these weekends I haven't gone out in Vegas and maybe with you, maybe this will be the first time that I will, but there is still cool stuff to see. Like, so I think if people follow you, it's still worthwhile to see everything that goes on during the fight week. So
absolutely.
I think they should definitely. All right, well, again, folks, thanks for checking this out. And all of our other prior podcasts are available on MMAHeat.com and across the board on all of our other platforms. So hopefully you can check them out as well. But yeah, for me, KB Heat on Instagram, Karyn Bryant across the board otherwise. But thanks so much for checking the show out. And yeah, we'll see you next time. And of course, everybody got to give our love and our big support to Big Alan here. You got to kick some ass, buddy.
I'll take it. Take care, guys.